All right, time to go teach. Hello and welcome to this next episode of Tutor Tutors, where we are starting our unit on ecology and looking at levels of organization. And this is going to be our introduction to our unit on ecology. So I'm sorry, but it will be a little bit vocab heavy just to start. Target of the day is very simple. We are going to look at abiotic and biotic components and how they influence each other. That is our target for today. In ecology, we can either look at the biosphere, which would be the largest level that we could look at, or we could look at the biomes, or an ecosystem, or a community, or a population, or the smallest level that we would probably look at in ecology would be a single organism. Let's define these things a little bit more. So first off, the biosphere, biome, and ecosystems, those are going to be combined of both biotic and abiotic components. And the lower levels, the community, the population, and the organisms, those only contain biotic components. They do not contain any abiotic components. Those abiotic components only appear in the top levels that we could ever look at. So let's define what these different levels actually mean. Vocab then. Biosphere, that's the Earth. It is the living sphere. It is all of life on this planet as well as all of the different abiotic components that make up this planet. The geological makeup of this planet, the amount of water that is on this planet, the typical temperatures on this planet, the weather patterns that take place, all of those different systems interacting, that is the biosphere. Next, a biome. It's a group of ecosystems that all are going to share a similar climate as well as the typical organisms. And specifically, when we look at biomes, they're normally named for the type of dominant plant species that exists within that area. Ecosystems are going to be all the organisms that live in a specific place as well as the abiotic components in that specific area as well. So what is the climate in that specific area? How many nutrients exist within that specific area? That would be in an ecosystem. When we're looking then at the next group, community, that is all of the organisms that exist within that ecosystem. All of those different organisms, they make up a community. The plants, the animals, everything. The fungus, all of the prokaryotes as well, they would make up the community. A population, that's a group of individuals that are of the same species, living within the same area. And then you have an organism, which happens to be the single creature itself. Whatever that living entity is, that would be your organism. You're an organism, I'm an organism, your dog is an organism if you have one. Right? Your pets are organisms, each one individually being an organism. And when we think about abiotic components, the first one that we need to think about is the sun. The sun is the energy source for this planet. Energy is obtained by producers when they do photosynthesis, which many of you should hopefully remember from back when we were looking at cells using the chloroplast. That process is how they are able to trap the energy of sunlight and then convert it into chemical energy, making sugars, which then they're able to use, as well as we are able to use when we either eat them or eat something that ate them. Okay? That's how this energy moves. It travels through the food chain by organisms eating, actually starting off with producers. Energy can't be created, it can't be destroyed, it can only travel in one direction. And each time that energy gets transferred from one organism to another organism, there is some energy that will be lost by becoming unusable, which is why we don't typically have food chains that are extremely long. The second major abiotic component that we would look at would be climate. What is a typical temperature of that area? What's the humidity? How much wind do they have? How much precipitation? What's the atmospheric pressure? All of those different little things that contribute together to make the climate is going to determine what sort of organisms can exist within that particular area. And the third abiotic component that's going to matter is the nutrients that are present. Because without nutrients present, organisms can't survive. We all need specific nutrients to exist. Typically, when we think about these, that means we need our carbon, we need our hydrogen, we need our nitrogen, we need our phosphorus, we need our sulfur. If organisms don't have these nutrients present within an ecosystem, then quite honestly, life isn't going to exist there because there are not enough nutrients to actually make it, regardless on if the climate is nice and if there's plenty of sunlight. Without nutrients, organisms can't survive. So in summary, when we're looking at ecology, environmental components come in two different types. They either come in as abiotic factors or as biotic factors, non-living factors or living factors. The most important of the non-living factors is the sun. Secondly, we would typically think about the climate, and lastly, we would think about the nutrients that are present within that particular system. Biotic factors are whatever is alive there, all of the different species that would make up the community, or one species which would make up one particular population, or we could just look at one specific individual organism. And that is the introduction to ecology. But until next time, be awesome, stay awesome.